because you need that credit history. Sucks, I know. You need that credit history. Sucks, I need that credit history. I'm Jeremy with Pink Orange, and what do? We finance machines all day long. So if you're looking to buy that new motorcycle, we're the guys who make it happen. We want to talk about a little bit of stuff that makes sense if you want to buy machines. And that's understanding credit score. What does it mean? What is this mystical thing? And what is it all about? So credit score is made up of 5 different things. And the credit bureaus, which in Canada is TransUnion and Equifax, will use these 5 things in a different mix to produce your credit score. So the least important would be the new credit responsibilities that you have and also the available balances that you have in terms of credit that is not used. So these make up a very small portion of your credit, but they are important. And then we have 2 other that are equally important, and these are very important to your credit, which is credit history. So how long have I had credit? So if I got my first credit card 6 months ago, that's not good. That's not gonna help anybody out. So credit history is the length of time that I have been using credit, whether it be credit cards, whether it be loans, whether it be mortgages. How long have I been on the credit bureau's radar? And equally important to the history is your credit utilization. So that is, am I maxed out everywhere? Is the credit that I have available to me fully extended? That is a big portion of your credit bureau, and a lot of people may not think so, but if I have available to me $20,000 of credit cards and I'm using all 20,000 of that credit cards, that is bad. That is a recipe for disaster, and it also shows to the creditors that as soon as I have something available to me, I'm gonna max it out. So that brings your credit score down. When it comes to credit utilizations, definitely understanding how to use your credit cards and your lines of credit is very important, and we're gonna have a whole video dedicated just to that. So check it out right here. And what makes up the biggest chunk of your credit score? What do creditors, so people that want to lend you money, what do they care about the most? Payment history. When I actually lend you money, do you give it back to me when you're supposed to? That is what will affect your credit score the most. So any late payments on credit cards, cell phones, any of that stuff gets reported to the credit bureau, and it looks bad because when I'm looking at lending you money, I want to make sure that you're going to pay it back as you're supposed to. So if you have a good credit history, you've had credit for a long time, and you have good credit repayment, those are the things that the banks care about the most. And if you think about it logically, if you're going to lend money to your buddy and he never pays back your other buddies, and the only times where the other buddies have lent him money has gone horribly wrong, you're not going to want to lend money to that guy either.
Nope.
Same thing with the banks. They're just like your buddy, except they don't like you. Oh. So with those 5 things mentioned, that is what makes the fabric of your credit score. The important thing to note is that each bureau, each bank, each way you're gonna pull it out, your credit score isn't always going to be the same everywhere. So don't get frustrated if you're pulling it up on your bank statement and it says one thing, and then when a credit pulls, it's a little bit different, but it should still give all the same information. 300 being the absolute possible worst, and 850 being the absolute possible best. Now, what credit scores mean when we're looking for prime rates or prime loans? So that is, if you're coming in, you want to buy side by side from us, and you want us to finance it, but we want to get the best rates that we can from the bank. So we're going to want to be prime, meaning we want to be positioned in a place where the bank feels very comfortable to lend us that money for a leisure vehicle, which is luxury, by the way. The credit scores usually, they want to see 650 and up. So if we're in the 600s, there is some stuff going on our credit. It's not squeaky clean, but we're still good. If we're in the 700s, that is very good. That is where the average credit user is going to find themselves. If we're in the 800s, we're excellent. And if we're below 600 in the 500s or 400s, there's something going on with our credit. And that is something that you should really pay attention to, because it could mean that you have missed payments. It could mean that you have collections under your name. There's a few things that is affecting your credit and is worth you looking at. If your score is under 600, find out why and find out what you can do to fix it. These things don't fix themselves. It's not magically gonna be like, hey, I'm just gonna leave my credit score alone for 6 months, come back, and everything's gonna be great. No, doesn't work that way. If you don't pay your bills, if you have collections, don't ignore that guy, take care of it, because it's gonna get worse. And things that we have seen where people don't really know how it affects their credit. Again, we were talking about that credit utilization. How much of it am I using? Well, if I'm maxing out all my cards, I have a bunch of new credit, and yes, I have paid my bills as I should, so my credit history on that perspective is good, and my credit history in terms of length is good. It could still be affected negatively because there's a lot of new things happening, and when I have available credit, I'm maxing it out. So that is all signals to the bank where maybe you're gonna go through insolvency, and we have a video on that right there. And insolvency is essentially the inability to pay your existing debts, meaning I owe more than what I make, so I cannot pay all my obligations. So the banks calculate this. They figure out, okay, if my credit score is like this, and this is what the history looks like. This person pays their bills on time, and they utilize their credit properly. This is how much money they make. So in theory, this payment can be added to this person, and they're gonna be able to do it without being insolvent. Yay! That is the name of the game. That is why they care about credit score. It is all about, are you gonna be able to repay this? Have you proven that you do repay your loans? So that is what it's all about when it comes to credit score, and that's why the banks care, is have you demonstrated that you're gonna pay it back? And have you demonstrated that you are responsible when we're given credit? And do you make enough money that with the credit score and the amount of money you make, this transaction makes sense? What are the challenges with this? Everybody's starting out. It sucks. I know it's hard because you need that credit history. Because you need that credit history. Sucks. I know you need that credit history. Sucks. You need that credit history. That is a big part of your credit score. And how do I get credit history when I don't have credit? That's where things like getting going with credit cards and using them properly, because they could do way more damage than they could do good if you use them wrong. Getting a co-signer so that I can get on some loans and start getting some credit history is gonna help. But at a certain point, a bank will take a risk on you. And they will try, and then you get going in that wheel of credit, and then it works. And on the alternative side, so the complete other end of the spectrum, not using credit at all is gonna give you a bad credit score as well. Because if I don't have payment history, if I don't have credit utilizations, these are all things that affect. So if I am a 55-year-old guy, I own my house free and clear, I have no mortgage, I have no credit cards, I have no car loans, I pay everything, I actually have bad credit. Don't mistake having credit with having money. They are two separate things, and they do not necessarily make sense if you're looking at it from a perspective of, is someone financially stable? They don't mean the same thing at all. So that is a short lesson about credit, credit score. What does it mean? What is all the fabric? How does all this thing kind of jumble up? And what you should do is pay attention to it, make sure it's good, and when it's good, come buy a motorcycle from this guy.